First time I had it, I took a sip. I said, "What is this?"
This is a controversial one.
Second sip, I was like, I'm never gonna stop drinking these.
A Dark and Stormy is kind of a glorified well drink.
I'd rather have a beer than a martini.
Oh, that might be our first hot take of the video. Moscow Mule in the copper mug. How much better does that make it to you?
It's an overrated cocktail.
Let's throw it in the dump bucket category because we've got to have something in there.
Damn, are they good, man?
I have a feeling I know where you're going with this one.
What's above top shelf? It's a perfect cocktail.
Hey, what's up? Welcome to Through the Mixing Glass. My name is Joel, and we are here tonight with Vino from 60 Second Cocktails. Vino, how you doing, my friend?
I'm good, brother. Thanks for having me on. I mean, I do this pub crawl thing over on my channel, so I'm usually the one interviewing people and stuff like that. So it's nice to be a guest once in a while.
All right, Vino, for the people out there who maybe follow my channel, but they don't follow yours, why don't you tell the people what they can expect from your channel and kind of what your whole deal is?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I have name's Vino Valentino, and my show is 60 Second Cocktails. And I've been in the beverage industry for close to 20 years now. And I've always just loved to make things easy and fun. So just come to my channel for great classic cocktails, original cocktails, with all of it's easy, fun, and delicious, most important.
Good stuff. All right, Vino, you ready to rank some cocktails?
Let's do this, brothers. Rank them.
Our first drink, we've got a daiquiri. It doesn't get any more classic than that. Let's run through our tiers real quick before we start talking about the daiquiri. We've got the top shelf sip. This is kind of like the elite of the elite drink level. Next level below that, we've got this is the old standby. This is what you are going to make for yourself when you don't know what to make. Kind of like a default drink. Like, I need a drink, I'm just going to make this. Okay. Next level, we've got happy hour special. This is what I'm thinking is like, you show up at a bar, you don't know what to drink, but you see this is what's on special, so you order it. Next level is, not feeling this, I'll just go with a beer instead. The worst of the worst level is the dump bucket. This is something where you would rather just dump it out and drink a water instead. So those are our tiers. How do you feel about a classic daiquiri?
That's I'm gonna put that in an old standby. A well-made daiquiri for me is something that I'm always gonna be satisfied with it, especially if they use a good rum and they use fresh lemon juice or lime juice and stuff. And just the right amount of sweetener. I think it's the perfect old standby cocktail. It really is.
Yeah, I agree with you. You really can't go wrong with a daiquiri. And oftentimes it's kind of like one of those drinks where you order it to kind of get a feel for like a particular bar or see how a bartender. Yeah, exactly. It's kind of one of those things where it's not I agree with you. I would put it in an old standby too. It's not a top shelf sip because it's, it's one of those things. It doesn't need to be special or fancy or anything like that. It's like it's something you drink all the time. So yeah, I am right with you on the old standby. Do you have favorite specs for your daiquiri?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a 2-1/2 guy, 2 rum, 1 lemon, 1 lime, and half of your simple. But depending on the rum that I'm using, I may not use simple, I'll use Demerara. Okay. So if I'm doing like a really funky Jamaican rum, I normally will go with Demerara just to kind of help complement it. But if I'm doing like your classic, white rum, I'll usually do simple for that. But the specs are usually the same, regardless of what rum I'm using.
Next up, we got a Tom Collins. When was the last time you've had a Tom Collins?
God, I think probably it was one of the first cocktails I made on the channel, and I'm going on 1.5 years, 2 years, something like that. So that's I made a Tom and John Collins. John Collins is Tom Collins with whiskey instead of gin. That's it. Probably back then. I wouldn't even know where to put that. Maybe I give those on a happy hour special. Like if it's like, hey, we're doing Tom Collins 2 for 10. I'm like, I'll get that. I'll be cool.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. I've got nothing against the Tom Collins, but it's not something I would go out of my way to order. It's probably for me, it's like above the rather have a beer section. Cause like if you have a good Tom Collins, they're pretty tasty. But like I said, I wouldn't go out of my way to order it. So I feel you on happy hour special. Let's go with that.
Cool.
Okay, next up, we've got a Bloody Mary. Vino, are you a brunch cocktail guy?
I don't like Bloody Marys. I'm not gonna. I wouldn't say they're dumb bucket bad. You know what I mean? So I would rather have a beer
Okay.
But they're not dump bucket bad to me. They're just not my thing. I'm not a big tomato juice guy, you know?
Yeah, I feel you. I'm in the rather have a beer section on this one, but I would switch it to, obviously, since we're talking about Bloody Marys, I would switch it to rather have a coffee. You know, like if I'm out for brunch, I'll just take a black coffee instead of a Bloody Mary, and it's gonna be.
I can't argue with you there. Yeah,
it's gonna be about the same thing for me.
I like you know, a little hair of the dog, the bitches. So I probably do like a mimosa or something like that. Maybe a Bellini instead. You know.
Yeah.
I want something light with alcohol.
Yeah, my gift and my curse is that I don't get hungover. Like I've probably been hungover like less than 10 times in my life, and that is not for lack of trying, if you will.
Yeah.
So like for me,
man, I do not get hungover, bro.
Yeah, it's honestly like I said, it's a gift and a curse because like, you know, my wife, she's always like, you're so drunk, like it's not fair that you don't get like punished for this, you know. I don't know if you've ever had a similar experience, but yeah, it's so like the hair of the dog is not, it's not a thing that like, it's not enticing to me. Like I said, I'd just rather have a coffee for the caffeine, you know?
Yeah. I think for me, it's more like just kind of waking up in the morning and, you know, going out for brunch or something like that. And just kind of carrying on the last evening's kind of celebration, really, more than anything else. Because if I'm going out for brunch after a late night of drinking, then I'm probably still in that mode of kind of, you know, drinking and celebrating or whatever the case might be. So then in that case, I do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that makes sense.
If I'm home the next morning or the next evening, I'm not going nowhere, then I just want the biggest pot of coffee on planet Earth.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's I always say that the bookends of my day are coffee and liquor, man. That's you know what I'm saying? Those are bookends of my day.
Yep. All right. Next up, we've got Dark and Stormy. How you feel about a Dark and Stormy?
Happy hour special.
Okay. Yeah.
Happy hour special. You know, for me, the happy hour special is something that doesn't offend me. I think it's a good cocktail, but I would never order it full price.
Yeah.
If someone gave it to me, I would drink it. You know what I mean? Or if it was on sale, I would do it.
Yeah. I would maybe, for me personally, like I said, I'm gonna defer to you on these rankings because you're the guest. I would maybe bump it up to Old Standby because I do like them a lot, but I think probably they're great in particular to kind of like open the door for rum drinks for people. Because a lot of times people will just think like, you know, rum and Coke, and, you know, Dark and Stormy is not necessarily more fancy or more special than that, but it kind of like, it's at least a different side of rum that maybe they're not super familiar with. But I'll leave it at happy hour special because like I said, you know, it's not something I make every night for myself. So I think happy hour special is a good spot for that.
Yeah.
Okay, next up we have, this is the Corpse Reviver #2. Obviously, different class of drink from what we've talked about so far. Classic, but not necessarily, at least for me anyway, it's not something I'm going to necessarily make myself, you know, all that often. How do you feel about the Corpse Reviver?
You know, a cocktail like that, I mean, I guess it would go in the top shelf sip because it's something I would order because I was feeling kind of, you know, frisky that day or something.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I wanted to see like maybe what the bartender's made of, you know? So I would put it there. It's not something I would normally order, but I do enjoy it.
Okay.
And it's you know, it's a nice cocktail to order at like if you had a craft bar and you think these guys will make a good cocktail. So I'd put it there for sure. It's not an Old Standby. I wouldn't order it outside of, you know, being in that zone.
Yes. Yeah, I would agree with you on that. It's not a standby. For me, it's almost like it's either a top shelf sip or it's a happy hour special, because if I see it, it's like, oh yeah, I like those, I'll order one of those. But it's not necessarily, but like it could go either way. It could either be something like, it's kind of like when you see something on a menu and you're like, oh, they must have a really good version of that if they're going to put it on their menu. And so, you know,
but now that you say happy hour special, like I think it, you know what, I think I like that. I think I like the idea that, hey, you know, it's on sale. It's a good cocktail. It's not necessarily, because for me, most top shelf sips are going to be like, they're going to be my top tier cocktails, my favorite cocktails, right?
Yeah.
This is not one of my favorite cocktails, but it's a nice cocktail.
Okay.
But it's not like, it's not your generic cocktail. But I think happy hour specials are good. I think moving in there is actually more appropriate.
Okay, let's bump it down then. All right, moving on, we got the Aviation. And this is a controversial one.
Yeah.
How do you feel about an aviation?
I think the aviation is in the overrated tier. I think it's an overrated cocktail. I think it's super pretty looking, and it got really hot recently. It's a good cocktail. I put in.
So you feeling all right? Sounds like you're between Dump Bucket and the beer. Where are you at?
No, not Dump Bucket, because it's not a disgusting cocktail. Okay. And I rarely would rather have a beer than a cocktail. So I'd put in the happy hour special probably.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah, just something like, sure. I mean, if it's on sale, I want something boozy. You know what I'm saying? For me, if it's boozy and it's on sale, it's worth it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. You know? Yeah, you get your money's worth. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll be honest with you, I haven't made an aviation in years. I don't even own creme de violette. So I haven't made one. Either. Yeah. I've had it at I used to go to cocktail parties, way back in the day, kind of like around, 2012, 2011, that era. And so we used to make aviations occasionally then. I just remember thinking like, I don't love this.
No, it's fine. It's fine.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Yeah. Just nothing special.
No.
All right, cool. Next up, we got the French 75.
That's a good one. That's a good cocktail, man. You know what? I'm going to put that in old standby because I think it's a nice cocktail to have when you're looking for something bubbly and something celebratory, but you don't want to just get champagne or prosecco. Maybe you want like a little bit of a cocktail mix. Like I definitely order these like at a birthday party for a friend or something like that. We're at a bar and I want to do a toast or something like that. I like French 75. I think they're a delicious cocktail. And they're definitely a good, nice, old, reliable.
Yeah, the French 75 is a good cocktail. It's especially good for like New Year's Eve, where like if you have people over, you want to like, obviously everyone has champagne, sparkling wine, that sort of thing, pop bottles at midnight. The French 75 is your way to like show them that like you can do a little bit more than just a plain old bubbly. So I agree with you. Exactly. I wouldn't make a French 75. Probably for me personally, I wouldn't make a French 75 outside of New Year's just because I don't drink a lot of sparkling wine in general, but like it's a special occasion holiday standby.
Yeah, it's usually made as in a celebratory mode, but that's one of my standbys in that category.
Yep. It's a great wedding drink too. I've been to a number of weddings where they serve that as kind of like the signature cocktail. So like, that's gotta count for something, right?
Yeah, but listen, when I worked at special events and catering, man, like that was a major cocktail.
Okay, so next up, we've got the gin gimlet. Vino, do you have thoughts about the gin gimlet? And then also, do you make it with fresh lime juice or do you make it with cordial?
Yeah, I don't use cordial.
Okay.
One thing about
homemade cordial?
No. One thing about my channel, again, and just my cocktail style is like grab and go. Like I appreciate homemade stuff. I do. I really do. I respect the guys that do that on their channels. But for me, it's like I want the path of least resistance. Yeah, it's the kind of cocktail that deserves to probably be in the old standby category because it's delicious, it's refreshing, and it's not complicated. It gets the job done. It's just not a cocktail that I drink very often.
Okay.
I've only had a few in my life. Of course, if it was on happy hour special, I'd get it, right?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But I don't know. I think it's a cocktail that deserves to be an old standby, even if it's not necessarily an old standby for me.
Okay, fair. So we're dropping it in old standby.
I would say so. I mean, how do you feel?
Okay. Yeah, I would put it there too because that's one of my favorites, and I'll make it with fresh or I'll make it with the homemade lime cordial. I use Jeffrey Morgenthaler's recipe, and when you use that stuff, that's like 2 minutes and you've got a drink in hand. It's also like it's a favorite of my wife. So like for me, that's definitely an old standby. I'm glad we agree on this one.
Yeah.
All right, good stuff. So let's get to the Irish coffee. And this is kind of in that it's in the same vein as the Bloody Mary in that it's like a brunch cocktail. How do you feel about an Irish coffee?
That's a total like happy hour special thing for me. I have to really be in the mood for one. If it's cheap, I'll get a couple, maybe for me and whoever I'm with. Hey, let's get a couple of, Irish coffees and stuff. It's a good cocktail. But I would probably only ever order it under very certain circumstances.
I agree. I'm the same way. I don't love Irish coffees. I don't dislike them. But I don't know if you're familiar with the Spanish coffee. It's like rum, orange liqueur. I'll take that over an Irish coffee any day. I think that's a much better combo. I think whiskey and coffee is fine together, but it's not my favorite. I would, so for me, like if I went to Dead Rabbit, you know, you and I are both here in the New York area. If I went to Dead Rabbit, I'd definitely order an Irish coffee, but I wouldn't, that would be, otherwise I wouldn't make one for myself, you know?
Yeah,
like that's just how it is for me.
It's like when in Rome type of situation.
Exactly. Yeah. Okay, next up we have The Last Word. That is a is it fair to say it's, I don't know, is it a controversial cocktail? Like some people love it, some people hate it. I know it's got a ton of riffs on it. It's inspired a lot of cocktails as well.
Maybe polarizing is the right word.
Polarizing, yeah, that's a good way to put it. Yeah,
and it is absolutely one of my favorite cocktails.
Okay.
And the riffs, Last Word, Eighth Ward. I mean, whatever.
Final Word,
Final Word, whatever.
Yeah.
There's a ton of them. There's I just made recently a Spanish version. I forget the name of it. It's just I love them. I think it's a great template for a cocktail. It's strong. It's potent. You know, funny enough, it's something that I would actually put in old standbys because it's like something I would get just to make sure I knew I was going to have a good time drinking.
Right. Okay.
You know what I'm trying to say?
So you're leaning towards old shelf or old standby, not top shelf sip because it sounded like maybe you're heading towards top shelf sip.
It's hard to say. I guess for me, top shelf is going to be, this is for me personally, is going to be a cocktail for one of two things. One, I'm absolutely treating myself to something because I think this bar is dope and it's a special day and I really want something great, or because it's the cocktail that requires really great spirits in order to be a delicious cocktail. Okay. And the last word is kind of teetering there, you know.
Okay. But you're still saying old standby.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm going to stick there. What do you think?
Okay, fair enough. I would. This is a tough one for me because I've had them a couple times, but it's not something I've drank a lot of, you know? So like, for me, old standby personally doesn't feel right just because I haven't done a ton, I haven't drank a ton of them. Yeah. So for me, it's almost like it's in that weird spot again where it's bordering on top shelf and also happy hour, because like if I saw it on a happy hour menu, I'd order it, but also like, I know that if I had one, it's worthy of like a special occasion, you know, because it's a really good drink.
Yeah, I mean, this is no less than old standby for me because I drink them often.
Yeah. Okay, let's leave it there.
If not this one, a riff of it.
Agreed. Yeah. All right. Old standby feels right. Happy hour would be too low, but I agree with you. Top shelf might be a little too high.
Hey, listen, if a bar is doing happy hour with Last Words, man, that's my new favorite bar.
If you're a bar, if a bar out there is doing that, let us know in the comments because we want to pop by.
We're there, man. We're there. Yep. Me and Joel, we're only a few minutes away. We'll get there.
Let's do it. Okay, next up, the Mai Tai, which sneak peek of how I'm feeling. That's what I'm working on right over here.
Cool.
So how do you feel about a Mai Tai?
That is 100% top shelf. I mean, old standby. I mean, that is. I would even. You know what? This is what. All right. I think it's. I got to define top shelf a little bit differently. Then I think top shelf to me has to be cocktails that I would prefer to order. Like I want. This is what I want. Right. Okay. And in that case, so like an old standby for me is something that is reliable.
Yes.
I know if I get it, I'm gonna like it. It'll make the day go by. Right.
Okay.
A top shelf drink to me then has to be something that is, it might be celebratory or whatever, but it's also just something that I really want, I crave.
Yeah. Okay. Right? Yeah. And maybe I agree with
that. To me would be where Mai Tai and daiquiri should go there then, because I'd have to move the daiquiri there.
Oh, so we're bumping the daiquiri up too.
Because to me a daiquiri is more than an old standby. Like it's something I want, especially if done well. You know.
Okay. Deal.
So with that kind of definition, I think it changes it a little bit for me.
Yeah. Okay, that's fair. So what is do you have favorite Mai Tai specs? Like what's your ideal Mai Tai?
I don't, I gotta be honest with you, I make them different every single time. There's so many different, versions of it that I like to try.
Yep.
So I don't have like a go-to version of it. For me, it's like top shelf because I may not have my own specs on it yet, but damn, are they good, man.
Nice. All right. I love
Mai
that.
Tai is
All right.
damn good.
I agree with you. Mai Tai top shelf sip. Next up, Manhattan. I have a feeling I know where you're going with this one.
What's above top shelf? That's Mount Rushmore. That's Mount Rushmore.
Yep.
That's Mount Rushmore for me.
All right, fair enough. How do you like to make yours?
I'm 2-to-1.
Okay.
Two. I usually use Rittenhouse. I love Rittenhouse rye and a Carpano vermouth, some orange bitters, and I am good to go. I was gonna make that or the old fashioned today. Those two are like 1 and 1A for me in terms of my favorite two cocktails. Dude, it's a perfect cocktail. It's when something stands the test of time like this.
Yep.
There's a reason for it, bro. I mean, that is unbelievably delicious. Perfect cocktail. The perfect cocktail.
Yep. A lot of people, they'll think old fashioned as like a good first cocktail. The Manhattan's like a good next cocktail.
I actually think I think the Manhattan might be more approachable than the old fashioned, to be honest.
Yeah.
Because the old fashioned, while it has. Yeah, well, it has a sugar to kind of sweeten it. It's super boozy, bro. The Manhattan has a sweet vermouth in there, especially if you do like a 2-to-1 ratio. It does just make it a little more palatable for people that aren't big whiskey drinkers.
Yeah,
I think it's the perfect cocktail. I can't say anything wrong about it.
Sweet. All right, completely agree with you on that one. Next up, margarita. And
it's Margarita Day.
It's Margarita Day.
As we film this today, I don't know when this is coming out. It is Margarita Day.
Yes. So, how do you feel about a margarita? Do you like a classic? Do you like a Tommy's margarita? Do you like a mezcal margarita or a spicy margarita? Mm-hmm. What's your pick?
I love classic margarita. No sweetener though. I go just 2-1-1.
Oh, and, just the orange liqueur?
Yeah, 2-1-1, no salt.
Okay.
And up. And I have the perfect margarita. That to me is excellent, delicious, top shelf, right up there with the daiquiri as, just when done right can be so perfect.
Okay. All right.
Quality tequila, fresh juice.
Yep. Yeah, that's another good one where like I think people have had probably so many bad margaritas over the years that you can kind of open their eyes to what good cocktails can be just by making fresh lime juice. And, you said you don't use sweetener, but if you put a little bit of agave in there.
Yeah, I like it with agave. I just don't do it for myself. When I make it for other people, I normally do a bar spoon of agave for them.
Yeah, you make those two simple substitution, in a classic recipe, and you'll kind of just open their eyes to like what a good properly made margarita can be. All right, next up, we got the Martinez, which according to cocktail lore is what the precursor to the martini.
Martini, yeah.
How often do you drink a Martinez Vino?
Frankly, I probably have one in my life.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. Same here. It's just not like
it doesn't really. It's not that it's not a great cocktail. It's just it doesn't come to mind. I don't know. It's just not a cocktail that registers for me. It just doesn't.
Agreed. If I'm thinking about that, I'd rather either have a martini or a Manhattan.
Yes. Exactly.
So what kind of tier are we talking about here?
Because it's a boozy cocktail and it's a quality ingredient cocktail, I'd put it in the happy hour specials. Like if it was on sale and it was cheap and stuff, I'm like, what? I'll grab one. I'll take one.
Yeah.
It's definitely. I definitely wouldn't rather have a beer. It's a good cocktail. It just doesn't register for me.
All right. Well, it's probably pretty clear what our next one is. We've got the martini.
Pretty clear.
Yeah, pretty clear.
Snuck that one in. Actually, snuck that one.
I'm out of beverage over here. I've got the. We did not come unprepared there. I got my clear ice cooler, and I've got some freezer martinis over here. I've got my Nick and Nora's chilling on ice over here. And I've got my freezer martini ready to go.
Resourceful
for the video here. Nice. The one area I'm noticing though that maybe I should have taken into account was dilution. I did not dilute this at all.
Oh wait, you just poured the ingredients in. You didn't stir.
I just poured it in. And it's been in the freezer for like the past
How many
6
cocktails you have
hours or
left on
whatever.
here? Boy, I tell you,
I know. By the time we finish this video, it's going to be like.
Oh man, I see a
Yeah,
whiskey.
it's
By
going to be
whiskey,
one
I
of
say by the
those
pina
nights.
colada. By the pina colada, we're gonna have a very different video.
Yeah,
here.
exactly. Yeah. All right. So, how do you feel about a martini? And how do you, if you order a martini, what's your default order?
So I'm not a martini drinker. You know, it's never really done anything for me. It's an okay cocktail. Clear spirits are not my favorite.
Yeah, you're a brown liquor guy.
I'm a brown liquor guy. So it's very rare that I'll drink clear spirits. If it's in a mixed cocktail, obviously it doesn't matter as much. If I'm drinking them neat, man, it's very rare. And a martini is you know, again, it's not a bad cocktail. Definitely not something.
It's just not for you. You're allowed to have, you're allowed to have preferences just like anyone else.
But if, you know, if it was on sale, you know what? I'm lying. I'd rather have a beer than a martini.
Oh,
In my head, I just looked at rather have a beer, and I said, if there was a good beer here, like an Allagash or something like that, I would drink that shit so fast.
Now that might be our first hot take of the video. You know what though? I don't disagree with you. Despite the fact that I had this, locked and loaded, I'm not a martini drinker either. For me personally, I would maybe bump it up to, and I'm not saying we should do this for the video, but like I've ordered them on a happy hour special just because they're on special. Like I went to Dante not that long ago and I was able to squeak in an order for the Dante Martini. Just, under, I got there at like 5:55 and the happy hour ended at 6 or whatever. So I did that. Otherwise I wouldn't have ordered a martini. And like, they're not a thing that I drink that often. It's just not my style. All right, cool. So let's talk about the mint julep. How do you feel about a mint julep?
Yeah, that's definitely an old standby for me. I like mint juleps, man. I think they're just, the great summer cocktails. I love ordering those if I'm at an outdoor space in the city, or maybe in some local nautical town here in the Northeast. Something like that. I just think they're cool, refreshing cocktails. My favorite julep is a prescription julep.
Oh yeah, that's got the cognac on it.
Uses cognac, right? Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, that is a tremendously delicious cocktail. And it's a simple cocktail, dude. It's great. I definitely is no standby. I order those under certain circumstances for sure.
Great. I'm cool with old standby. If it were me, like if I were purely the one doing the ranking, I might bump it up to top shelf sip just because I've had bad ones. I've also had really great ones too. And they do require like a little bit of work. I don't necessarily make them for myself a lot, even though I love them, but just because the crushing of the ice is kind of a pain. You got to muddle. So like for me, I'd probably bump it up. If it were my list, I'd bump it up to top shelf sip. But like old standby is a good spot for it because like, it's just a great drink. And like, if I see it, I'm down to order it. I feel you with the mint juleps in the old standby category. Okay. Next up, we've got a classic mojito.
I mean, oh man, that's, I'll put that, I'm gonna be honest with you here. I'll put that in the happy hour special. I'm not a big mint guy.
Okay.
No, I mean, it's fine. It's fine.
I
know
what? There's a lot of
I know that.
I
was just talking about the julep and stuff like that. But
yeah,
it works for me better in the julep than it does in the mojito for me.
Yeah, there's a lot of bad mojitos out there. It's almost like
that also.
You know what? For me, a mojito was like a mojito. I graduated college in 2006, and a mojito was something I was drinking in like 2008 at like a clubby type bar, and like not just like they weren't bad. Like they were probably pretty good, but like to me, they just kind of like I don't know. I just don't think of them as like a craft cocktail. Like there are good versions of them out there, but also like I don't know. If it were my list, I might bump it down to rather have a beer because it's just unlikely that I would make it for myself. It's just not, I don't rank it very highly. All right, let's talk about a Moscow Mule. How do you feel about a Moscow Mule and the Moscow Mule in the copper mug? How much better does that make it to you?
That's bullshit.
You don't feel that?
Yeah, I'm not a big gimmick guy. I mean,
okay,
I suppose it keeps it. First of all, it looks cool. I suppose it keeps it cooler, kind of like the beaker and the julep,
Yep.
But it's not really something I can. Personally, I like the Moscow Mule, but it's definitely a happy hour special for me. Like I would never just order one. It's like the dark and stormy. Like it's. The spirit gets lost to me in it. It's really just
and also it's the most boring spirit possible in vodka.
Yeah, exactly. So I love ginger beer. I do. It's delicious. But if I want to go out and drink, that's really not the cocktail I'm going to buy.
Yeah, I feel you on that. It serves a purpose. They taste good. They're easy to make. They're crowd pleasers. So if you have a party, it's easy to bust out around a Moscow Mules and keep the crowd happy or whatever. But nothing really special about them, Next up, we are on the Negroni.
Oh, top shelf sip, easy.
Yeah, agree.
Easy.
Completely agree. You go. How do you feel about a Negroni?
Amazing. Yeah. First time I had it, I took a sip. I said, "What the is this?" Second sip, I was like, I'm never going to stop drinking these. Yeah. That first sip was my first time having Campari. And I was like, what is this? Bitter, just like strong. And I was just like, man, what is this? Like, not in a good what is this way. But I bought it. So I drank another one and I took another sip. And I was just like, and now I love them. I mean, of the Negroni riffs, the Bouvardier is my favorite. Again,
well, I mean, the brown liquor.
But in terms of just the Negroni itself, absolutely fantastic cocktail.
Yeah.
Probably my favorite gin cocktail.
Would you say it's fair to call them polarizing? Because so many people don't like Campari. Like my wife hates Campari. And if I try to sneak, I'll make a Jungle Bird or a Lost Lake for her, which have just a very tiny amount of Campari. Yeah. And she'll be like, this is really good. And then 3 seconds later, she'll say, oh, wait, there's something here. There's Campari in this drink. I cannot sneak any amount of Campari past my wife.
The problem with Campari is that it has that back end bitterness. You know what I mean? Yeah. So you take a first sip or two and you think it's okay, but then it starts lingering in the back end of your palate. And you're like,
yeah.
If you don't like Campari, I think anything with Campari automatically qualifies as polarizing. I just don't think there's any way around it.
Yeah, I'd agree with you though. Negroni to me is for me, I have very specific top 3 cocktails, and Negroni is one of them. So for me, it's just a perfect cocktail.
Yeah.
Really speaking of my wife, she just walked in. Lindsay, say hi to Vino.
Hey, Lindsay.
Next up, we have, I know where this is going. This is an old-fashioned. Vino, how do you feel about an old-fashioned?
Again, with the Manhattan 1 and 1A.
Yep.
Gun to my head, the old-fashioned is my favorite cocktail ever. An old-fashioned with really good bourbon. It's like,
are you getting emotional? You're getting emotional.
Yeah. I was holding back the tears there. It's incredible, man. It's just, it's the first cocktail that I had that left me really going oh my God. You know what I mean? I had just one of them, because up to that point I had old fashions and they were done in a less than stellar way. The cheap neon cherries. They would put a whole
with the mashed up orange,
kind of like that Wisconsin style, except it wasn't cognac, whatever. It was cheap bourbon, cheap whiskey. Then I went to a bar here up in Westchester, and they made me one, and I was like, wow. This was very early on in my cocktail career, and I was like, wow, this is just unbelievable. And so I asked the guy for his specs, and I worked on his specs to make it even better for me. And it's a simple cocktail. So we say specs, you're like, what are you talking about specs? There's one way of making it. But it's more the ingredients, and just if anything, it's to me is the bitters is what makes the biggest difference. How many dashes of Angostura that you use changes the flavor profile of the bourbon.
Yep.
What kind of bourbon you use? Are you using one with a high rye mash or not? You know what I mean? Like there's things to consider when ordering a Manhattan. I'm sorry, an old fashioned. It's not as simple as, hey, let's do some whiskey, sugar, and bitters. It's definitely a more complex thing to that. Like I prefer sugar cubes. I love the evolution of the cocktail. I like at the end that it gets a little grittier. And you have kind of like that sweetness on the back end of it. I love 4 dashes. I like to make sure that I get a real good amount of those bitters in there. And I tend to like to use Bullet because it has a high rye mash. So the cocktail is sweet, but with some spiciness in it. So, you know, there is a specific way to make it.
Agreed. Yep. Yeah. I mean, it doesn't get, I mean, it's the cocktail. So like there's no other place to put it in this rank.
Listen, it's surprisingly complex if you care about it.
It's just a great drink. You know, I got nothing else to say.
So good. You can spend another half hour talking about it if you like.
I know, right? All right, let's move gears, switch gears and talk about the Paloma. How do you feel about a Paloma?
Dude, such a good cocktail, man.
Yep.
That's an old standby for me.
Okay.
It's not a top shelf for me. It's not a margarita, but it's definitely a cocktail where like, you know what? I'm just going to get one. There's no way these guys can fuck this up. It's going to be delicious. Yeah. So let's just get ourselves one.
Yeah, if it were me, you know what, if I were the deciding factor, I'd probably bump it down to happy hour personally, because I don't make them a ton at home. That's my only, that would be the only thing. But I mean, it's a great drink. Do you prefer, I'm assuming, with fresh grapefruit juice? Because I know that there are also some people who make them with like a grapefruit soda.
No, dude, I do it the way the Mexicans do it that way. They use their soda, man, and it's just, you know, it's a sweeter style. And it's probably more bubbly because soda tends to be a little more, you know, especially because it's bottled and stuff.
Is that Ting? What do they use Ting?
But Ting is the Jamaican one. They
Jamaican,
use like,
right?
Yeah, it's like something with a J or something. I can't remember.
Doritos.
Yeah, Doritos. Yeah.
Okay.
They tend to use that, and then there's another one like Squirt or something. I think they use
Squirt. Yeah. Okay.
So you know, I grew up. You know, my first Paloma was made by a Mexican guy. You know, he was a friend of mine, and he's like, "Yo, well, you know, try it." I was like, "All right, cool." I mean, how bad could it be? And it was fantastic.
Perfect.
And so I tend to buy Ting because I have a great Jamaican place near me, and I really like Ting. But you know, I'll use whatever grape soda is available.
All right. How do you feel about a Pimm's cup? When have you had a Pimm's cup?
This is the first one you got me on. The first one you got me. I've never had a Pimm's cup.
I gotta be honest with you. I don't know. Honestly, I can't even think of. I've had a Pimm's cup recently. You know, like
you get disqualified. Pimm's cup.
Yeah, are we thinking?
Yeah, I gotta tell you, it's the one cocktail I've never had before, man. So we'll put it in dumb bucket, I guess. Yeah.
We're not in London, so like whatever.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Let's talk about the pina colada. How do you feel about a pina colada?
All right, I want to preface this by saying I'm Puerto Rican.
Okay.
And the pina colada.
So you have strong opinions about the pina
very
colada.
Strong. So I mean, listen. You know what? Honestly, bias aside, before I knew it was made in Puerto Rico, I always loved it. I love pineapple. I love coconut. I'm a beach bum, and it's always been my favorite beach cocktail. Any island that I go to the Caribbean a lot. Any island I go to, like I want a pina colada. It's top shelf for me. It is.
Okay.
I absolutely love that cocktail. I'm going to Puerto Rico in April, and I cannot wait to go. I'm actually staying at the hotel where the pina colada was invented.
Oh, nice. Okay. So I'm with you on that. I love a pina colada. The only, my only gripe against the kind of your basic pina colada is that sometimes I just want an extra squeeze of lime juice in there to like kind of balance it out a little bit. Sometimes they're a little too sweet. So, I'll take the lime garnish, squeeze it in, mix it up. It's perfect. Like it's a great drink.
For me, sometimes I just want an extra squeeze of rum juice because sometimes they're not strong enough.
A floater on top. Yeah. All right. Next up, we got the Pisco Sour. How do you feel about a Pisco Sour?
I've only ever had a couple of those. Very good. Happy hour special.
Okay, fair. That's it's middle of the road.
Yeah, no strong feelings anyway.
Agreed.
If I was at a good Peruvian restaurant, they probably, and I like to imagine they have some good pisco and stuff like that. I'd order it there. But otherwise, I'm a big when in Rome guy. I think I said when in Rome before. If I'm in a place or in a city or a restaurant where this is probably something I should be getting, I like to do that. If I'm at a Mexican restaurant, I'm getting tequilas. I'm getting margaritas and I'm getting palomas. If I'm at an Italian restaurant, I'm probably getting wine at an Italian restaurant. But I may order something that I may order something that has Amaro or something like that. Amaro, So I tend to gravitate in that direction.
Yeah, exactly. Yep, I feel you on that. Okay, next up we have the Ramos Gin Fizz. This is a drink that so many YouTube videos have been made about the Ramos Gin Fizz. Have you yourself made one?
Yes. This is how I feel about them. They're a combination of the overrated aviation.
Okay.
And the only okay, nothing crazy pisco sour.
Okay. All right.
Like super fucking overrated. Like, oh my God, I got to shake this thing for 100 hours so I can make this foamy head.
Yeah.
And it tastes good, but hey.
They're pretty, they're pretty, like they don't have a ton of flavor, right?
No,
like they're pretty
mild. I find that all that egg white foamy stuff kind of takes away probably from some of the flavor.
Yes, exactly. It's almost, is this a hot take? Do they have less flavor than a Tom Collins?
Oh, I would say so.
Yeah.
I would say so.
Are you feeling, look, you tell me, but
I'd rather have a beer.
Yeah, I'd rather have a beer too, especially because like if I went to a bar, I would not make someone make me one of those because of the insane amount of work that it takes to make them.
You know what then, Joe? With that said, let's bump down the aviation too.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay. All right.
I'm thinking more now about what, because I think I wasn't looking at I'd rather have a beer category correctly. If someone said to me, hey, do you want an aviation or a really good beer or wine? I would choose those.
Next up, Sazerac.
Yeah, that's a top shelf sip.
Yeah, I'd agree with you on that one.
That's a fantastic cocktail. One of the cocktails that I honestly don't drink enough of.
Yeah, I agree, because it's almost like it's probably let me think about how to put this. I might rather drink a Sazerac than a Manhattan or an old fashioned, but there's a couple extra steps in making a Sazerac. So I'm more inclined to just like make an old fashioned, like with the rinse and stuff like that. So yeah, the Sazerac is a delicious, amazing classic cocktail, but I don't make it as often as I should because of those couple extra steps. How do you feel about it?
Yeah, I don't know that the steps are the problem for me as much as like, I just, I'm a New York guy. I'm an old school guy. The Manhattan and the old fashioned. These are just cocktails that like have been kind of like ingrained in my mind as go-to. Get those, drink those. When I'm in the mood, my palate, it wants those.
Okay.
But that said, the Sazerac is fantastic. And when I do think to make one, or sometimes I'll order one when I'm out, and the menu will come out. And I'm like, oh, Sazerac, it's on the menu. Let me get one of those. I haven't had one of those in a while.
All right, next up, we got the sidecar. How do you feel about a sidecar?
Top shelf cocktails. Okay. Yeah, I mean, it's up there with the daiquiri. It's the cognac of daiquiri. It's the daiquiri of cognacs. You know what I mean? Like it's just super delicious. We use fresh juice. It comes out absolutely fantastic. I don't rim it. I'm not a big rimmer of cocktails.
All right. Next up, we got the South Side. This one, you've already expressed your general kind of meh-ness towards mint in general. So I don't know. If I were going to guess, I feel like you're putting this in happy hour or the have a beer section. How do you feel about the South Side?
Put it this way, I'd rather have a mojito, right? So if the mojito's in the happy hour, then I think we could probably put, and to me, the mint is almost more concentrated there.
Yeah, it is there because you don't have the club soda kind of like link. Yeah. I mean, well, I guess it's gin versus rum, but yeah, you're right. The mojito is kind of like a lengthened rum version of a South Side.
Yeah.
I like a South Side. I like South Sides a lot. I don't necessarily always have mint on hand though to make them. And if I don't, then I'll just make a gimlet, you know? Okay, coming down to our last two. Our final one, whiskey sour. How do you feel about a whiskey sour?
Yeah, that's a top shelf cocktail. That's in my Mount Rushmore cocktails.
Yeah,
agree with you. Whiskey cocktails.
Yep.
Super delicious. You know, again, one of those cocktails where fresh ingredients really helps. A really good whiskey helps. The right portions help. You know, do
you put Angostura in your whiskey sours?
It depends. If I'm making it with egg white, I will. You know, the Angostura bitters. You know, for me, and I think for a lot of people, the reason you put it up on top is so that you're not getting the smell of like the egg white, because the egg white is not off-putting smell, but it's it does have like a certain scent to it. You know, that kind of it's not pleasing. It's just like you know.
Yeah.
So the to me, you know, doing the aromatic bitters on top helps to give the cocktail a little bit of a nice scent.
Okay, I'll do it. I do it on top with the egg, you know, with the egg white foam on top, and then I'll put a dash or two in the mix as well, just because I think, honestly, like there are most cocktails, I think, if you put a couple dashes of Angostura in it, it's not going to hurt it. It's probably going to help the drink, and I think the whiskey sour is a perfect example of that. Okay, our final drink, the Blood and Sand.
I was wondering what that was. I was able to tell almost all of them except for that one. I thought the Pisco Sour was a whiskey sour, but then I saw a whiskey sour, so that through me off. But this is the one I was like, what the hell is that?
Yeah, exactly.
I thought it might have been a Manhattan until you pulled the Manhattan out. Blood and Sand.
I'm going to be honest with you. I don't think I've ever had a Blood and Sand because, in part because they don't have a good reputation. Like, if you read, like, you know, some of the bartender websites, some of the cocktail websites, no one is saying like, I love a Blood and Sand. Like, they mostly get like shit on, basically.
I'll tell you why. It's really unbalanced, dude. And that's the biggest problem with it. It's okay.
Are we talking dump bucket?
What's that? I wouldn't.
Are we talking dump bucket?
No, I wouldn't. No, definitely not dump bucket.
Okay.
Because, you know, I don't know. I'd rather have a beer.
Yeah.
I'd rather have a beer. It's not a bad cocktail. It's just like, if I'm gonna drink or pay for a drink, I want to get one that I'm gonna be satisfied with. So assuming that it's a good beer or good wine, I'd rather get that. It's just a very unbalanced cocktail. Not quite sure why it took off the way it did. I think
it's weird that it has the reputation that it does. Like, it has that, you know, kind of classic status, considering most people seem to not like it, you know?
Yeah. It's okay. It's good. It's a good cocktail, but if I never had one again, I'd be okay with it. You know?
All right, Vino. So those are the cocktails. This is our ranking. How do you feel about it as you look at it? As you look at the list now?
Yeah. I'm definitely taking a look at this. The top. Yeah, I mean, that top shelf is absolutely correct. There's every single one of those belongs there for me.
Yeah, I mean, what do we got? We got, like, you know, 10 cocktails here. Like, you could, if someone said you can only drink 10 cocktails for the rest of your life, you could pick these ones here. I mean, you would be happy. Like, you've got every kind of mood that you're looking for a cocktail would be covered with our top shelf list here.
Yeah, I can't argue with these, man. You know, I think if I had to move one, it might be the Pisco down to rather have a beer. It's just
okay.
The more I think about it, the more I say, like, that cocktail never really registers with me as
you've never had a kind of a wow moment with it.
No, exactly. Like, it's like, okay, it's fine. The one cocktail that's not on here, and I don't know how you chose this list. There's really only one cocktail for me that's a dump bucket cocktail. Like,
lay it on me.
It's the Long Island iced tea. Now, I know it's kind of cliche to say that, but I've been in the business a long time, nightclubs, whatever you want to, whatever. And it's a nightmare. It's always been a nightmare cocktail. It's a pain in the ass to make because it's like 100 different spirits, and you know, people that drink them, you know, especially like in their early years of drinking, they're at a club or something like that. They're like, they have no idea what they're getting themselves into, and they end up getting so shit-faced. By the time they come back for like their second one, they're like, hey, boo, and you're like, oh, jeez.
Yeah, I have to imagine, like, so I've worked as like a waiter at a cocktail bar, but I've never worked as a bartender at a cocktail bar. I have to imagine if you have been a bartender at a cocktail bar or just a bartender at any bar, you hate a Long Island iced tea more than most people, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
And on top of that, besides it being a pain in the ass, I don't give a shit what anybody says. That's not a great cocktail. That is not a delicious cocktail. It's not.
All right, Vino, thank you so much. You're good with the list at this point?
Yeah, man, I feel good about it, brother. I think, you know, given everything that you've chosen, the 30 cocktails you chose, I feel comfortable where they are.
All right, cool. So what we will do is we're gonna put our list out there, what we ended up with at the end of this video. We're gonna put it out there. We're gonna put a link to the template. So if anyone wants to make their own version, working within the same parameters, the same 30 drinks that we worked with, that I'm gonna put a link to that in the description below. And I want to hear, I want to hear from people if they don't agree with, you know, with our decisions. I want to hear about it in the comments.
Yeah, feel free to debate it, because I am definitely not the end all, and nor is Joel. You know, this is our opinions. My opinion is probably right, but you guys can argue.
Yeah, I mean, like, well, we are open to some debate here, but we're unlikely to have our minds changed.
Yeah. This is, I think we spent a long time thinking about this, guys. So,
agreed.
You know, that's the beauty of the cocktail world, right? I mean, you know, some people love this, some people love that. I mean, you know, not everyone loves whiskey cocktails. Some people are big, you know, rum guys. You know, listen, we got people in our community that will drink rum all day long, and so I'm assuming there'll be more rum cocktails on their list than mine. There's some big gin people. You know, that's the beauty of it all, right? That's why cocktail making is so damn fun.
Exactly. Yep. All right. So thank you so much, Vino. I really appreciate you taking the time to do this with me.
It's just so much fun, Joel. So much fun.
Yep, I had a blast. And if anyone out there follows me but not Vino, make sure you look up his channel, 60 Second Cocktails, and we will see you on our next video. Thank you so much, Vino.
All right. Cheers, Joel.
All right.
Cheers, everyone out there.
Cheers, guys. Thanks.